The other day we had a power outage here in the neighborhood. I woke up at 4 o'clock and tried to put the light on. There was no light. A little later I went downstairs to the kitchen and of course everything's electric. No stove, no toaster, no coffee maker. So I had a bowl of cold yogurt for breakfast. It's fine, I got along okay. Why do I mention this? Because I think most of us, maybe all of us, are like the disciples of Jesus. We are very concerned about and dependent upon the material things in our lives. And it's important, we need them. I was glad the power came on later. We have to take care of the concerns of our bodies and our surroundings. But Jesus is talking about himself as the servant of all of us. His disciples are squabbling among themselves, who will be the first in the kingdom? Who will be the Lord? Who will lord it over the others? And Jesus says, that's the way it goes on in the world around us, but it shall not be so among you. If you want to be leaders in my community, you have to be servants. So what happened in the course of history? Those disciples had as their successors the people we call bishops. And eventually the bishop began to be called my Lord Bishop. And the bishop dwelt in a palace. Jesus and his disciples were poor people. Jesus said at one time, you know, the birds of the air have their nests and the foxes have their dens, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. But the bishops of the church became lords. So what's the outcome of that? It's the crisis that we find ourselves in today, where bishops and priests commit crimes and cover them up. And scandal is everywhere. I know there are others who do it besides Catholic priests and bishops, whether it's in sports or entertainment or the business world. Every day in the paper there's another accusation of sexual impropriety. But we have to worry about ourselves. And it's for us to clean up our act. It's for us to look to the bishops of our church to be servants, as Jesus commanded them. Because we are the church of the gospel of Christ, not of any institution that built up in the course of time. Yes, the institution is necessary. It has a certain kind of order to maintain. We all realize that. Any group of human beings who come together have laws and an order. But the laws and the order in the church mean nothing. The external rituals mean nothing unless they come from within, from the heart, where we recognize that the only Lord that we have is Jesus Christ and his gospel, which we've heard this morning. And as we said at the beginning, our God is here. The Second Vatican Council taught us that the first part of the liturgy, what we call the liturgy of the Word, in that liturgy, Christ is really present, just as much as he's present in the bread and wine of the Eucharist, under a different form, that's all. But the real Christ is really present when we hear his word and do our best to put it into practice. We live in a world of greed, selfishness, cruelty, the horrors of war and famine, people who are emigrants, who try to find a place of repose, of decent living, and they're turned away. The people who turn them away don't know the gospel of Christ. We know the gospel of Christ. We know that Christ demands of us that we follow him as servants. That's all of us, not only the bishops and priests, but all of us who are his people. We are servants, no matter what position we have, whether we're priests or parents or any other kind of person who has others in their care. They're not below them. Your children are not below you. Your children are in your care. And loving them means listening to them, trying to understand them, not only demanding and lording it over them. All of us, bishops, priests, all of the people of God, are the servants of one another. We come together today in this Holy Eucharist, this great act of thanksgiving, which, yes, the Church has provided for us, the external ritual, and we follow that, and it has its own beauty and its own meaning. But underneath all of that is each and every individual human heart. The externals mean nothing unless the heart is involved. One gospel we had earlier in the week, Jesus is castigating the Pharisees who clean the outside of the cup, but don't look at the dirt that's inside. That's the church today. The church today is full of uncleanness within. It isn't enough to have the external ceremonies and laws. It's the inner reality that counts. It's God and His grace living within each and every one of us. So we celebrate today that we are the people of God, that we are the servants of one another. And we know that because of that reality, that fact, the fact that our God is here with us, within us, that is the great cause of our joy. That is what keeps us going as His people. And we hope and pray that that joy and that grace may spread into the world around us.